Is it visible? Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, ma'am. Shall I go ahead?
Yeah. Can you put it in full screen?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, is it fine?
Yeah, it's okay. It's still not in full screen. Just leave it, sir. You can go ahead, sir.
Okay, okay. I have presented it on a full screen, but
Okay, I
still, if
think
it's
there's
not.
some issues. Yeah. It's
Okay,
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 sir.
fine.
So
Okay,
you can
thanks. So,
just close the side slide. It will automatically adjust on a higher.
no, I have done it on slideshow mode as well.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
there's some issues, sir. Just go ahead, sir, please.
Okay, fine. Thanks everyone. Thanks for giving me such a wonderful opportunity. I'm also obliged to the Arthajan University for giving me such a session. So I would not take too much time. I will start with the topic. The topics which are to be covered, that will be the topic, as everyone knows, is uh, renewable energy utilization techniques. We are talking about in terms of smart cities and the opportunities and the developments. So, which the topics that I'll be covering will be the introduction part of the renewable energy, evolution in power generation and delivery, the increasing need for the energy, renewable energy utilization and need for the storage, types, world energy scenario, India at a glance, and different other things. How we will utilize the different types of renewable energy and the techniques that will be used for the utilization. Okay, fine. So initially, I would start with like evolution in the power generation and the delivery, the pioneers of the electricity generation and the transmission. That back in 1900s, 1850 or 1860s, Thomas Alva Edison invented the bulb, and everyone knows that he had gone through so many experiments, around 10,000 experiments he did, and after that he invented a bulb that is now used for everyone use different forms of bulbs has been now developed. So that was again altered to the Nicholas Tesla, that alternating current Tesla coil transformer. He is known for these things: induction motors, AC generation and transmission. Then Westinghouse helped spearhead the development of the alternating currents, which led to the current supergrid. So, the journey of inventing the bulb has now come to the super power grid, super grids. Okay, so it's been a very nice journey, and we have shifted from DC, DG to AC, DG to super grid. Now we are currently using the super grids. uh, human ecology human always look for the better options to achieve the supply of energy to make life comfortable and safe. Everyone wants a very comfortable and a safer life, and this path is reversed. No one wants to get again to uncomfortable life and an unsafe life. So this path is irreversible. We always move towards a better life. For any growth rate, energy consumption will grow at a higher rate. It's a very given fact. If you are utilizing, if you want to grow a city, if you want to grow something, if you want the development of any city or any place, the energy consumptions must be there, because you need to build some infrastructure, some buildings must be there, some power plants will be there. So energy consumption will again be there, because manpower will also be there, and the human needs will be need with the energy, that part of energy. Again, we need clean and the sustainable energy resources to respond to the constant growth in the energy consumption. As everyone knows that uh, greenhouse emissions, the emissions of carbon dioxide, SOx, NOx, and other pollutants have polluted our environment. So we need a very clean and green energy. So everyone is talking about now the green energy. That's why the government and the at the global level as well, the energy policy makers uh, have bring so many protocols and the policies and the tariffs just to restrict everyone, so that we could not. Am I audible? Hello, ma'am. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. We are,
Okay.
sir, we can
Yes,
see
sir,
it.
you're audible.
Please continue.
Okay. Okay. Fine. 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 Okay. Most sustainable resources are not dispatchable. Okay. So everyone need a sustainable and a clean energy, and we also need a green environment as well. Now, coming towards the population growth and the demand for the electricity, last time when the population was held, the projected the population of worldwide population was 7 billion in 2011 when the last census was conducted. Now, right now it has been projected around to be the 9 billion. Right now it is 7.9 billion in 2021 itself. So we are heading towards a very huge population because a very huge jump is there. So obviously, the demand for the electricity, as the world population grows, the demand for the electricity also enhances. The developing nation will represent 80% of total growth in energy production and the consumption by the year 2035. It is the data given by the International Energy Agency that shows that around 80% of the total growth in energy production and the consumption will be there by the developing nation itself by the year 2035. On the right hand side, you can see that there are some graphs which shows that uh, on the y-axis it is like million population in millions, GDP in trillions, and energy demand. So these are the indicators for India starting from 2000, 2010, and 2019. The graph shows that the first one is for the 2000, then 2010 and 2019. Here we can see that how the population grows and how the energy demand source also grows. On the right hand side, the third graph shows that as soon as the means energy demand increases, we can see the how the proportion of different energy resources are there, like coal, gas, oil, nuclear, biomass, traditional biomass, and other renewable energy resources. In my further slides, I'll show you that how the renewable energies have overtaken the non-renewable energy resources like oil, coal, and gas. Those were the conventional fuels. Those were initially used, but due to the population, due to the pollution, and these are now being replaced by the renewable energy resources. Now, again, the super grids and the cascading faults, like in 2003, a blackout in different parts of the world, different at the different time juncture. Some blackout were okay, like in North America in 2003, a blackout occurred that left 55 million people without power. In India, in July 3031 in 2012, a blackout left nearly 700 million without power. So these are things that will have to shift from conventional energy resources to the renewable energy resources, as well as some smart grids, some super grids should be there, as well as the storage capacity should also be there, so that we can utilize it in further time when the power is not supplied. That should be stored in a part of a device, and that should be again reutilized for our purpose. So these are the some data which are being shown here. Typical green energy sources for the power generation. The current utilization of renewable energy, excluding the hydropower, if I'll exclude the hydropower at the global level, it is around 4%. However, renewable energies are increasingly being introduced as alternative energy resources. These are the alternative energy resources which are being replaced, which are replacing the conventional energy resources that were used or utilized initially. So this includes that solar cell. We can use the PVT module. I will show it into my further slides. Photovoltaic thermal cells, then wind turbines. These utilizes the wind energy and produces power. Then marine energy, geothermal energy that utilizes the underground earth temperature, and the water is directly, that might be converted into form of a steam, and that might run, or that might be used for a space heating purpose. Then solar thermal, similar thing. Fuel cells, biomass, like wood can be burned, and that can be used for production of the steam, and that can again be utilized for the process heating purpose as well. for process heating purpose, for the water rise in water temperature by utilizing its different parts. Okay, fine. Next one is the
Excuse me,
mainly I
sir.
will
Your
focus
slide
about the
is
part of
not
India, but I will
changing.
also show some stats
Sir,
about the
your
world as
slide
well.
is not changing, sir.
Hello,
Yes, sir. Your slide is not changing,
hello.
sir. Hello.
Yes, हाँ मैम बताइए. Yes,
Your
ma'am.
your slide is not changing, sir.
I guess. So okay, okay. Let me check.
We
Let
can
Yeah,
me
yeah.
check
see
Okay.
one.
human ecology. Now
Thank you,
it's
sir.
Okay, fine, fine. Just a second.
Yeah, now it's okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now is it fine?
Yes, sir.
The total primary energy demand in India, is it visible? Slide number 8 I am showing.
Yeah, this is slide number 8, sir.
Now is it fine? Total primary
Yeah.
energy demand in India. Okay, fine. So this one is the graph on the upper side shows the total primary energy demand in India, which shows that the data for total demand, the coal, the portion of the coal power plant, oil sectors, the natural gas, the traditional biomass, and the modern renewables. We can see it by the different colors. We can see it by the different colors. Metric ton of energy is being. It is in terms of metric tons of energy. Again, we can see that energy demand, change in energy demand by fuel in India. We can see that industries and transport, the buildings and the agriculture, how they utilize different types of energy resources like coal. A portion of around 70% or something is being utilized by the industry. Transport portion, these are the changes in energy demand by fuel in India that will be developed, that will be occur in future. Is it visible now? Is it changing? Hello. Okay. If there is any issue, just let me know. Then key issues for the demand, energy demands are electricity and the modern life. Here we can see that urban, rural, and the shares of efficient appliances, how we utilize lightings, fan, TVs, refrigerator, washing machine, and other resources, other devices which are used in a developed city. As we shift from the urban, rural from the urban, we usually take care, we usually utilizes these devices. And electricity in 2019, India achieved a most historic landmark of reaching near universal household connectivity to electricity. It means it shows that over 900 citizens have gained an electric connection to their household since 2000. In 19 years, the government of India almost served 900 million citizens who have the electricity in their houses. This was obviously a remarkable achievement, but still there are some challenges that providing reliable and affordable sustainable access. This is the reason that everyone cannot afford the electricity, that because the cost of the oil, cost of the gas, natural gases, cost of the other sources that we are sources, energy resources that we are utilizing might be very that might not be very much economical. So this is the reason we'll have to shift towards the other renewable energy resources. Access to the clean cooking. As I shown in the last graph, that government of India served over 900 million people with the electricity, and they are now having in their houses, but still they are not having a clean cooking electricity access. Like the graph in the lower portion shows that having electrified nearly every household in the country, one of the next big energy sector challenges for India is to achieve a full transition to clean cooking. Some 660 million Indians remains without access to the modern clean cooking fuels or the technologies. Access to clean cooking goes beyond technically availability. It also extends to issues of advocacy, reliability, convenience, safety, and affordability. So this is the reason, these are the stats that shows that still we are lacking the clean cooking portion. Even if we are using cooking our food, we are utilizing some resources, but it's the cooking process, even in fact a household, is not a clean cooking process. So government of India is also looking towards that portion. So this again leave a urge for renewable resources of energy. So now comes the renewable energy. That energy that comes, what do we understand by renewable energy? Energy that comes from the sources which replenish themselves naturally in a relatively short time, and thus will always be available. These are available in an abundant form, like sunlight, wind, rain, tides, waves, and the geothermal energies. We were initially not utilizing these kind of energies. We were mostly relied on the conventional fuels that we were using, like coal, gas, oils, and etc. But these are also the resources that are available in a abundant form, and that can be utilized for can be utilized as an energy producer. And around 16% of global energy comes from the renewable energy resources, 10% of all energy from traditional biomass, 3.4%. These are the stats which has been shown. Why we need renewable energy? Energy is a prime source of economic, social, and industrial development of a country. Increase in world's energy consumption day by day, as we are consuming, as we need some means a very much huge amount of energy. So the electricity demand or the energy demand is not only can be meet up by the conventional fuels, as these are not economical. Everyone cannot afford that, uh, the cost of that. So we also need some renewable energy resources as well. Still 70% of world's electricity generation depends on thermal generation. There are lots of social and economical issues with the conventional plants. Like when we utilize some conventional plants, hello,
Yes, sir.
am I audible, ma'am? And is
Yes,
it
sir. You are
visible?
audible, sir. Your slide is not changing, so please change the slides also, sir.
I'm extremely sorry to say, but I'm changing this, but it is not being
Yeah, there
changed.
is.
And I don't know.
Yeah. There is some problem in that. Okay, it's okay, sir. Just go ahead, sir.
No, shall I go with this? Like if I'm projecting the screen, and even if I'm switching towards the slideshow mode, it's not being changed.
You can put it in PDF format so that you can change it. Then I think so.
Okay, ma'am. Just a second. Let me just reshare my screen then. Just wait
Yeah.
a second then. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. It's okay,
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Participants, please wait for a few minutes.
Is it visible, ma'am?
Yeah, yes, sir. This is now perfect.
Okay. Fine. Just a second.
Yeah.
Now, is it visible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now it's being changed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So energy is the why we need a renewable energy. I was discussing this, that energy a prime source of economic, social, and industrial. Yeah. It is. Energy is a prime source of economic, social, and industrial development of a country. Increase in world's energy consumption day by day means if the energy consumption is increasing day by day, it cannot just be met up by the conventional energy resources. There has to be some unconventional energy resources, as well as that must be clean and the green energy resources as well. So here comes the need of renewable energy. Uh, Next is the still 70% of world's electric generation depends on thermal generation. It means it utilizes mainly thermal power plant. As we also know that due to the uh, uh, due to global warming and some emissions constraint, as the energy policy makers are having some energy constraint, so they are also now, the thermal power plants are now also being shifted towards the supercritical cycle, and the other thermal power plants are also coming into the picture, like which utilizes its solid oxide fuel cell. They are based on some CO2 Rankine cycle. So means the world is now being shifted from coal and the thermal power plants towards the renewable energy resources, and they are mainly playing these roles in to meet up the energy demand. There are lots of social and economical issues as well with the conventional power plants. World economy is looking for the sustainable development, means one has to be survived, that plant should be survived for a longer period of time, and that should also not harm the environment as well. So this gives the need and the birth towards the renewable energy sector. So what are the different forms of renewable energies? Here we can see that these are solar energy, wind energy, hydro energy, tidal energy, geothermal energy, and the biomass energy. Uh, these are some stats that we can see. These are some stats we can see that on the upper side it shows that production, imports, and the import dependence. These data are just for the India, and this shows that India's domestic production of fossil fuels has not been able to keep pace with the demand, leading to rapid increase in the import dependence over the past few decades. Means we are not able to cope up with the conventional energy resources which are being produced in our country itself. Will in fact we are importing this into the huge amount. We can see like the graph itself is sufficient enough to explain that coal, gas, and oil, we are hugely dependent on the other countries. So we'll have to import. We used to import these, and this again results in very higher cost, and obviously it affects the GDP and the economy of a country. Again, this is the annual power sector capacity traditions, and with coal capacity growth slowing down and solar PV and the wind ramping up, the share of variable renewables in installed capacity has doubled since 2014. The graph shows that the total capacity has been doubled as the solar and the wind power plants has been functional, and they are also now contributing towards the energy demand rate. So these are taking over the thermal and the other conventional power plants, oil, gas, and coal, and these are also playing a very vital role into the economy of our country. How the solar and the winds are operating, how the solar and the winds are being functional. So this is the most remarkable story in India's power sector in recent years, has been the growth of a solar PV and the wind module, which have rapidly increased their share of the overall energy mixture in the recent years, as coal and the hydro power capacity has been slowed and steady. Over the past 5 years, solar PV capacity has grown at an average growth rate of 60%, and the wind capacity of around 10%, outpacing the 7% growth in the overall installed capacity. So these are solar and the winds are playing a very vital role into the energy meet of demand right now. renewable energy utilization and the need for the storage. And as I already told, that the introduction of variable renewables is one of the primary drivers behind the renewed interest in energy storage. So that energy should not only be produced either from the conventional or the renewable energy resources. In fact, that should again be stored into some kind of a device. From there we can utilize it further for our consumption. Like I told, I showed you in the graph that in 2012 there was a blackout in India, and a huge population was affected by that blackout. So if there would have been some devices, some storage devices where we can store our where we could have been stored our energy, and we could have reutilized it, that blackout would have not affected so many Indians and so many population. Hybrid system and energy can play an important role in making the RE-based power smooth, stable. Mandate from a California Energy Commission in USA that showed that 1,300 megawatt storage by the 2020. In USA, it has been mandatory that 1,300 megawatt storage should be mandatory by 2020. Again, technological breakthroughs are needed for electricity energy storage. So these are the variety of renewable energy based power generation and the storage technologies. Here we can see wind energy, solar, solar thermal, then tidal, micro hydro, geothermal, bioenergy, and the hydrogen fuel cells. These are the renewable energy resources that are being used, and that has to be stored in high power and the high capacity batteries, super cap, then pumped hydro, then compressed air energy storage. There should be everyone knows about the flywheel. It has a function of storing the energy when there is a speed, when the speed means storage of energy it does, and its speed increases, then again it supplies the energy and the speed of it decreases. So thus it in turn acts as a energy storage device. Then again flow batteries can be there. Then hydrogen storage, means hydrogen is a future fuel. Everyone knows that hydrogen is a future fuel. So it should again be stored in some tank or the reservoir type of device where it can be reutilized. These are the life cycle systems. As we are talking about the smart cities, there has to be some construction. There must be some infrastructure. There must be some buildings that must be undergoing. So the top portion that shows that life cycle system means if there is some construction and all which is going on, that raw materials extraction must be somewhere. There must be raw material extraction. Then again somewhere it must be building material production must be there, and again raw materials and the building material production. The building materials should be reutilized for the construction of the buildings, for construction of infrastructure, for the development of the infrastructure and all. Again, how after construction, that there should be some maintenance and the operational part must be there. Like if a building is there, there must be some fault in, say, water supply has to be maintained, the electricity has to be maintained. There must be someone which must look after all these things. And again the demolition, which is the end of the life. So this is the life cycle system, that cradle to the gate means we are into the construction process. Something is produced, then it is utilized, then it goes into a process, and then again it is demolished. So life cycle system, how it is used, that primary energy resources are, how we can see into the downward picture. The primary energy resources are biomass energy, solar energy, geothermal energy, and the wind energy. These are the renewable energy resources. Again, how it should be carried, how the energy should be carried in form of a liquid fuel. It may be in form of liquid fuel, or in form of solid fuel, or in gaseous fuel. This again might produce a thermal conversion. There must be some temperature gradient must be there. Again, solar energy can also be utilized for the gaseous fuel as well, for producing the gaseous fuel as well. Solar energy can be utilized to produce electricity. It can be utilized for producing heat, and that heat can be utilized for the heating and the cooling purpose, cooking purpose, and the hot water that should be supplied into building, let us say. Okay. Geothermal energy directly uses some direct and indirect applications are there. It directly uses the underground, uh, uh, the energy which is the temperature which is the beneath the earth crust is utilized for direct heat up of the water, and that is again utilized for producing the steam, which can be reutilized for heating, cooling, and cooking purpose. Wind energy utilizes the wind power by kinetic conversion, like for utilization of the wind energy, we have a windmill or a wind turbine is installed, which have some aerofoil shaped blades. The wind, when the wind blows, it produces a left portion that hovers the blade to be turned, and due to that kinetic energy of wind turbine blades, windmill blades, it produces some power, and a generator is coupled over there, which produces the electricity. That electricity can be used for the lighting or the electrical appliances. So when we are talking about smart city, we can utilize just this is just the example of these services into a single building. It can be used for any other purpose as well. Just a second. Again, I am talking about operational energy and the uses of a residential building. That these are the appliances which are used and can be run after these energy resources like ventilation and the air conditioning system. It is operational as well. It has to be maintained as well. Hot water for the sanitary use. This is again required in a building and a smart city. Cooking, the renewable energy resources can also cause the energy to be provided for the cooking purpose. It can be utilized for the space heating purpose. There must be a huge electrical appliances and the lightings would be there. So renewable energy resources can be utilized for these purpose in a single building as well. How we can operate? How we can operate these PV modules? If a solar panel is installed there, how it will be utilized? PV panels will be there. These are the photovoltaic cells which uses the sun solar energy to charge itself, and then the charger controllers are there. It has some battery bank where the energy is stored. Such AC/DC inverters are there, which converts the DC into AC. Then it is supplied to the distribution board. Then again it goes for the electricity consumption, and we can utilize it for our home appliances to be run. Solar thermal systems are also utilized like this. These are the PV panels which can be installed on the roof of a building, and there in turn, as I already told, that can be supplied for utilization in ventilation and air conditioning, hot water uses, cooking, domestic purposes, heating and lighting, and everything. Wind turbine can be utilized by installation. A wind turbine can be utilized for the installation. These are the blades which are mounted on this, mounted on a shaft. Generally, when the wind blows, it hits the wind turbine at a certain relative speed, relative velocity. That relative velocity causes the wind to be lifted. Drag and lift forces are there. So the lift forces causes the turbine blades to be rotate, and that rotational energy is utilized for power, for production of mechanical power. This is again utilized. This is again coupled to an electrical generator and a gearbox. Generally, the speed of wind turbine is very low, and hence a gearbox is utilized for increasing of this its velocity, and electrical generator is there which utilizes this mechanical energy to convert it into the electricity, and this is again this electricity is utilized for feeding into a particular area or a particular city. Biomass fuel utilization can also be there, that wooden pallets can be burned after, and after that This goes into the pellet boiler, where the water is boiled at a certain pressure and a certain temperature. Then the maximum portion is stored for the buffer purpose. Then it is utilized in a particular building for space heating, hot water utilization. That hot water can be supplied for any electrical appliances or any household purposes. And this in turn we can utilize the renewable energy even for a single building itself. So let's start with the solar energy. So sun is a very huge amount of source. Sun is a source of energy in our universe. It has 1.4 million kilometer in diameter, 3.8 into 10 to the power 20 megawatt of radiated electromagnetic energy. On an average, 170 peta, means 10 to the power 15 watts of solar energy reach the surface of planet Earth continuously every day. Every day, 174 multiplied by 10 to the power 15 watts of solar energy reaches the Earth's surface. About 38% of this energy is the visible range and can be harvested in part by solar photovoltaic arrays. So almost 40% of sun's energy which reaches the Earth's surface can be utilized for purpose of electricity generation using the photovoltaic cells. These are the spectrum, solar spectrum. Visible light has a wavelength between 0.4 to 0.7. So it's the 40% of this visible range that reaches the Earth's surface is can be utilized for the photovoltaic cell and the electricity production. The sun is the abundant source of energy. Our current world energy consumption can be met if we globally tap sunlight over only 1% of the incident area at an energy conversion efficiency of 1%. Means we can utilize the solar energy. If we can utilize only 1% of the incident radiating solar energy, we can meet up the energy demand worldwide. About 9% of the planet's surface area is taken up by the desert, and the efficiencies well over 1% are possible. Thus, exploiting massive economy of scale by establishing large areas of solar collector in hot and desert regions of the world could open up exciting future opportunities. So sun is the abundant source of energy and can be utilized as a very good source of energy to meet up the worldwide energy demand at efficiency well over 1%. Solar energy and conversion technologies. These are the conversion technologies. We can utilize it as solar PV. The PV modules are generally installed on the roof surface or something, and it again utilizes the solar energy to store it form of the energy. And again, a battery converter is there. That inverter converts the DC to AC, and that is again utilized in our appliances and all. It's supplied to our household purposes. Concentrated PV modules. These are the focused sun beams and the multi-junctional solar cells. These are the solar cells which concentrate the sun beams on a particular surface area using the optics or the curved mirror. These are used to concentrate a large amount of sunlight onto a smaller area of PV cells. That high intensity produces a very good amount of it has a very good conversion efficiency and utilizes solar energy to convert it into the electricity. Solar thermal parabolic reflectors focus sunlight into heat water to generate steam at about 600 degrees centigrade to drive a turbine. So turbine can be run after, but just using the parabolic reflectors, which is used to generate such a good amount of energy that can convert water into steam of around 600 degrees centigrade, which can again be expanded onto a turbine. Thus, in turn, the rotation of the turbine can produce a very good amount of work, and it can be a very good source of energy as well. So, if we talk about the India one is India's first utility scale solar thermal power plant, which is designed to run after 24/7, and this thing has been this is a joint venture of Government of India, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and Federal Ministry of Environment, Nature Conservation, Building and Nuclear Safety of Republic of Germany, and World Renewable Spiritual Trust of Brahma Kumaris at Mount Abu in Rajasthan. So this India one is India's first full utility scale solar thermal plant, which is a joint venture of Government of India as well as the Republic of Germany. The Shantivan campus of Brahma Kumari at Mount Abu, Rajasthan, shall demonstrate India's first solar thermal plant utilizing storage of energy to provide round-the-clock generation to meet the electricity and the heat requirements of the ashram. So it will be providing the electricity to the ashram 24/7. The solar thermal power plant is based on Scheffler dish technology. Over 770 such dishes has been installed to generate 3.5 megawatt energy output. The area of a single dish is 60 meters square, and the solar field is spread over an area of 25 acres. The dish concentrates solar rays towards the indigenously developed highly efficient cavity receivers, which are again positioned in front of each other to store thermal energy. So this is the latest technology, and India one will be operating very soon, or it has been operated. It has also been started operating. So this is the data from 2019. Again, in a similar fashion, we can also utilize wind. We can also produce wind power. We can utilize the wind power using the wind turbines. So wind is air in motion that due to the uneven temperature distribution, due to the solar radiation and the Earth's rotation, there are two main causes of wind. Wind energy is a renewable, inexhaustible and non-polluting source of energy, like as the solar is. It is an environment-friendly, developing and the popular alternative source of clean energy. So we are again talking about the green and the clean energy. So wind is again a clean energy and does not harm anyhow, and does not give any after effect such as the conventional power plants were leaving, like coal power plant. If they were utilizing a coal-fired power plant, natural gas power plant, or the oil-based power plant. So wind and the renewable energy resources does not leave any after effect onto the environment. Under the National Clean Energy Fund (NCEF) program, the ministry has taken up initiatives of wind sources assessment in new and uncovered areas to access the potential at 100-meter level, and 500 new wind monitoring stations across the country. So Ministry of Renewable Energy along with the National Institute of Wind has announced India's offshore wind policy, and also started planning to encourage a demonstration project as well. So this is the state-wise data. Which shows that starting from 2014, 2015, then it has been continuously increasing over the year. And this is the data on the vertical axis. We can see the data state-wise, and with the year, its capacity is being increased continuously. So the Tamil Nadu has 7276 megawatt capacity in 2014, and tentative it is the data for 2017, and it shows that around 24.2% of total energy utilization, total energy is being produced for the wind energy in Tamil Nadu. Wind power classification, we can see on the behalf of different air qualities, the wind power is being affected. The air quality, it is being shown by the color code across the Indian map, that poor quality if the wind density is around 2 to 200 watt per meter cube for a 50-meter turbine which is installed at a certain place. Marginal if its density is between 200 to 300, fair 300 to 400, good 400 to 500, and we can see it by the color code itself. So we can see that during the offshore, during the coastal regions, mainly the density is good to excellent and outstanding at some places and superb at some places as well. Leading wind turbine manufacturers are these are some leading wind turbine manufacturers which are being shown and which produces some specific which covers the wind power energy which is being produced by these manufacturers, and the turbines are designed by them, and these are the percentages where we can see that 12.8% is covered by Gold wind turbine, then Vestas is covering around 12% of total energy. Here we can see the evolution of the wind power and the power level converters. The blue color shows the power level converters, means now we are how much we are sufficient sufficient enough to convert it into this. The diameter is 164 watt, 164 meter. The wind turbines diameter is 164 meter, and we started in 1980s when then the installed capacity was 50 kilowatt, then it increased up to 100 kilowatt capacity in 1985, then 500 kilowatt in 1990, then later on it according to data from 2011 it was if a wind turbine was designed for a diameter of 164 meter, it will be capable enough to produce energy around 700 megawatt. But the wind turbines cannot be installed everywhere. There are some constraints and challenges for these. So depending upon the countries to countries, so these are the challenges, like lack of evacuation and transmission infrastructure. Means every government will not provide you the evacuation and the transmission infrastructure. There should be transmission infrastructure, and that should be away from the land should be there, that is free from the population. Evacuation will have to be there. Incoherent resource assessment, land availability. So land availability is a major challenge for wind energy to be installed, wind turbine to be installed at a particular place. That every geographical region cannot be available with the land and where the wind turbine should be installed. Inadequate forecasting tools and a grid management. This is one of the major flaws that every country goes through. That forecasting tools are not optimized. They are not optimized enough to predict that what will be the wind behavior, how much power will be produced by utilization of a certain wind turbine capacity, and how much power it will produce. So there must be some efficient forecasting tools as well, and the grid management is also responsible for this. Effect of legal proceedings. No one wants to get into the legal proceedings and the investigation parts. So these are also the constraints which varies from country to country and the state to state. And the supply chain issues. It is one of the major issue that every manufacturer or every installer or every government faces, the delays and the inflexibility of supply source. They do not generally get a very good supply source. They do not know which source will supply them, and that should not be delayed. That wind turbine will be installed at a proper time. System information infrastructure and the breakdown. If there is a breakdown, how it should be rectified. The procurement and the exchange rate risk. If there is a there is an exchange and the procurement is going on, so who will cover the risk and how the risk will be covered. Receivables and the number of customers. How many will be the customers that will utilize that energy that will be produced from that wind power. If in our household purpose, if in our house, if I'm receiving electricity at the rate of 5 rupees per unit, and if someone says me that I'll provide you electricity that will be green and the cheap, that will be green and the clean, but it cost will be 10 rupees per unit, who is going to take that? So no one thinks about the society, no one thinks about the globe, global level. Everyone just thinks about themselves. So, so no one knows that how we can predict the number of customers, inventory holding cost, demand and supply uncertainty, then service suppliers, key component manufacturers, procurement, and the environment. So these are the some challenges for the installation of wind turbine and utilization of the wind energy. Again, we will move towards the hydro energy. Hydropower plants capture the energy of falling water to generate electricity. A turbine converts the kinetic energy of falling water into mechanical energy. Then a generator converts the mechanical energy from the turbine into the electrical energy. So these are the things which utilizes the hydro energy in our country. There are some dams which are installed, like which has been installed: Bhakra Nangal Dam, Rihand Dam, then Hirakund Dam. These are the plants. These are the sites where these plants has been located, and these are hydropower plants that utilizes the hydro energy and to convert the electricity, to convert the energy of the water into conversion of electricity. So here we can see that as I told, that these are the dams. These are made against some reservoir. A huge basin is there. A reservoir of water is there. There is some wall houses which opens up, and through the dam the water comes from the reservoir. Then there is a penstock in which these water runs after, and this water is again fed up to the turbine portion through the runner. Through passing through the runner, it goes to the turbine portion that utilizes the kinetic energy of the water, depending upon the turbine, whether it is tangential turbine, whether it is a reaction turbine or the Pelton turbine, or it's an axial turbine like Kaplan, Francis, other turbines. It utilizes the kinetic energy of water, and then it thus in turn produces the power, because a generator is coupled with these turbines, and that produces electricity that is again fed to the population which need the electricity. So the amount of electricity a hydropower produces depends mainly on two factors. That is, how far the water falls. The farther the water falls means the more power it has. Means because it is being now converted into the it is utilizing the potential energy of that water is now being converted towards the kinetic energy. And generally the distance that the water falls depends on the size of the dam, that how big the dam is. The higher the dam, the farther the water falls and the more power it has. The scientists would say that power of falling water is directly proportional to the distance it falls. So if the dam is bigger, a dam is higher, it has more power, and that will again be covering a farther distance and will again be having a higher kinetic energy that will produce higher power as well. The amount of water falling means the discharge. The amount of water falling or the discharge is utilized to produce the amount of water. The bigger rivers have more flowing water, can produce more energy. Again, the power is also directly proportional to a river flow. A river that with twice the amount of water flowing as another river can produce twice as much energy. These are the global hydropower installed capacity. The total global hydropower installed capacity reaches 1308 gigawatts in 2019, as per the data which has been received from the International Energy Outlook 2021 and the Hydropower Status Report 2020. This is the global level global hydropower installed capacity. We can see the pink portion shows that China has the maximum installed hydropower capacity, and recently the India has left behind the Japan in the installation capacity and now come to the worldwide position of 5th. So these are the hydropower capacities and the generation by the region. Installed capacities has been given onto the left hand side, and the estimated generation has been given onto the right hand side. This shows that if East Asia and Pacific, the installed capacity is 487, and everything is in gigawatt. 487 gigawatt hydropower capacity is there, and in Europe it is 251 gigawatt. North and Central America it is 205. South America it is 176, and continued with the Africa, it has the minimal installed capacity, which is 13 megawatt. And on right hand side we can see the numbers, which shows that estimated generation after the installation of these hydro power installed capacity. So highest is for the East Asia and Pacific, 1594 gigawatt, and for Africa it is the minimal, which is 138 gigawatt. New installed capacity by the region in megawatt. In 2019, 50 countries added hydropower installed capacity. 50 countries added hydropower installed capacity. The reason to add the most capacity was East Asia and the Pacific, followed by South America, and then the South and Central Asia. So these are the portions which are now being shifted towards the renewable energy, which is mainly supported by the hydropower plant. So these are some major hydropower projects in India. One is the name of the turbine is given, and the river against which the dam has been built, it is also being given here. The Bhakra Nangal Dam, it utilizes the Francis turbine, is based on Sutlej and the Beas, and the region is Himachal region. The Dehar power plant is there, Francis turbine, Sutlej, Himachal Pradesh. Then it is there are other Kalindi stage 1, Chavarti, Kunya, Nagarjuna Dam is there, which is built on Krishna River in Andhra Pradesh. Then Idukki stage 1 is there, Srisailam. It has come into the light after, means it has come into the light against thing. It is again built on against the Chenab Reserve, which is in Jammu and Kashmir. Sorry, Krishna, Andhra Pradesh. Srisailam is built on Krishna River, which is located in Andhra Pradesh region. Next one is tidal power and its utilization. Tidal energy or tidal power is a form of renewable energy obtained due to alternating sea levels. So this utilizes tidal power is generally natural rise or fall of the tides due to the gravitational attraction forces of moon, sun, and the earth. It is generally a form of renewable energy which is produced. The kinetic energy from the natural rise and the fall of tides is harnessed and converted into the electricity. The tides are caused by the combined gravitational force of the moon, sun, and earth. However, tides are influenced mostly by the moons. We have learned it since the starting that moon is the main reason of tide creation. So the water reaches up to a certain height into the night time, as we know. So the moon is the main reason. The moon's gravitational force is so strong that it tugs the ocean into a bulge. The high and the low tides create tidal currents, which are essential in the generation of this kind of energy, mostly prevalent in coastal regions. So mainly tidal power plant is installed into the coastal region just to ensure that it can be converted, utilize some tidal power. Tidal energy utilization techniques. So these are some tidal energy utilization techniques. That tidal turbines are there, which utilizes the same technology as wind turbines. Like I told you in the wind turbines, that these turbines are the blades which are aerofoil in shape. When the air flows, it hits the blade at a certain angle, and there are some certain relative velocity as well. So when the wind hits the turbine, that wind turbine, it rotates the turbine blades, and thus in turn it is coupled with the gearbox. Generally the speed is very low, so that using the gearbox we can increase the speed. Then again it is coupled with a generator that utilizes the wind energy to convert it into the electrical energy, which is fed into the nearby regions or to the grid. So in the similar case, tidal energy also utilizes the same, works on the same technology as the wind turbines. The only difference is that the blades of tidal turbines are much more stronger in comparison to the wind turbines, and these are shorter as well. As I already told you that if a diameter of 14 meter was utilized, 70 megawatt or some power was being generated into the last slide. So the best way to compare the tidal turbine is underwater windmills. These are the underwater we can compare them with the underwater windmills. Ideally, the water currents turn the turbine like it was being done into case of the air or the wind turbine. The turbine is connected to a generator through a shaft. So when the turbine turns, the shaft also turns, and it produces the power. Next one is tidal barrages. These are the most efficient tidal energy technologies. So tidal barrages are different than the tidal turbines, but these are very much efficient in comparison to the tidal turbines. They resembles dams used in hydropower plants. So we can compare it with the hydropower plant dam. The difference is that they are not bigger since they are constructed across a bay or a estuary. Means the dams are built against a river, but these are built against some bay or estuary. So it is not bigger than the dam. Uh, dam which are used in hydropower plants. So for the barrage to be able to produce power, the tidal range, which is the difference between low and the high tide. So difference between the higher and the lower tide is known as tidal range. And if it is more than 5 meter, it comes to the tidal barrages, and there we can produce power. Tidal lagoons are there. This is technology a lot uncommon in tidal barrages. It's just that it does not involve a lot of initial capital outlay, and it's friendly to the environment. So it is much more eco-friendly in comparison to other types of turbine. A tidal lagoon is a power station which is separated from the rest of the ocean or the sea. So initially, as in case of tidal turbine and tidal barrages, these were not separated, but the tidal lagoons are a portion which is a power station which is separated from the rest of the ocean or the sea, and its functionality is similar to the tidal barrage. Since when the tide goes up, the lagoon completely fills up. Lagoon completely fills up, and when the tide subsides, the water is allowed to drain out by the opening of the through an opening consists of turbines. The outward flow of water turns the turbine, which generates energy. So and this is the way in which we can produce and utilize the tidal energy, or that we can produce the tidal power. India and the tidal power status. The most reassuring and the obvious kind of marine maintainable power resource is tidal power. It is non-polluting, obviously, as there is no source of any conventional power producing thing which produces any greenhouse emission or something. It tried and true and obvious. It is very obvious that it is non-polluting. Surely, even with its potential for obvious and reasonable power, age with low visual impact, tidal power still records for only a little measure of a percent of world's mean power age. So it is not very much beneficial that it is being utilized everywhere for the power production and to meet up the world's demand. However, the example is well ordered, improving with different tidal power plants being produced or organized along coastlines. So as I already told you that these are generally built around the coastlines and utilizes the coastal tidal power to produce the electricity around the world. All inclusive, there is a set of example of tidal impacts being a great degree productive. Nevertheless, steam turbines haven't gained equivalent relevance ground in view of their diverse quality. So status of there were wonder reports masterminded handling this energy from the Panchpada region in Odisha and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The Ministry of India is working on a tidal project. The Ministry of New and Renewable Energy made an examination of the capacity of tidal energy in India, and it is evaluated the nation can pass on 7,000 megawatt of energy in the Gulf of Khambhat. These are the Bay region. 1200 megawatt of energy in the Gulf of Kutch in Gujarat, and around 100 megawatt energy in the Gangetic Delta of Sundarbans and West Bengal. So it is as per the reference, it was given in Khan and the Bunyan, a book. British tidal energy affiliation Atlantis Resources, which is relied on set up a tidal power plant. Am I audible? Hello? Hello? Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, sir,
Hello?
you are audible.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Okay, okay. Okay, fine. So, a British tidal energy affiliation, Atlantis Resources, relied on to set up a tidal power plant with the ability to make more than 250 megawatt in Gulf of Kutch and Khambat. India as first endeavor to output tidal energy for making power would be as a 3 megawatt plant proposed by the Durga Doni current in the Sundarbans Delta of West Bengal, the Gulf of Kutch and Gulf of Cambay in Gujarat, and Ganga Delta in the Sundarbans. So the world's most prominent mangrove are the three objectives seen for the potential areas for the tidal power age. So these are the things which are highlighted in terms of the scope of tidal power plant in India. So these are the installed capacity which are related to tidal power on the Gulf of Khambat. It is 700 megawatt with tidal barrage technology and 1425 megawatt with tidal stream technology. Gulf of Kutch has 2000 megawatt capacity. Palk Bay Mannar Channel 230 megawatt with tidal barrage. Then Hooghly River south of Haldia and Sundarbans, it is the West Bengal region. Then in South Gujarat and South Maharashtra and Odisha region, it utilizes 900 megawatt tidal range capacity. So these are the scope and the installed capacity of tidal energy in India. It also plays a vital role in renewable energy resources and to meet up India's population energy demand. These are the government support for tidal energy, that renewable energy certificates issues. There are set up bodies are there by the government of India. They renewable energy certificates are given, then duties and tax exemptions are given to the states that utilizes the tidal energy, then grants and the subsidies are given, feed in the tariffs are given, means tariffs, some certain tariffs are there, tidal energy purchase obligations. These are the support that government of India does to incentive to carry out the incentives for tidal energy utilization system. These are the barriers in the tidal energy policies, that market related barriers are there and the technological barriers are there, that government market, government driven market, loan market, cash market. One has to be very clear about utilization, and if someone means not someone, if a current state is installing and taking over for this tidal energy, going for the tidal energy to meet up its state's energy demand. So that state has to be very clear that these are the things they have to tackle with. Technological barriers are there, that we are lacking into the R&D and the manufacturing capabilities. There are technology risk if you are utilizing the technology of any other country and you, doing a joint venture. So it obviously requires a very high cost for that, and technology transfer that should again be beneficial for your country as well. So these are the barriers in path of utilizing the tidal power being installed in Indian system. So other challenges are irregular supply, cost, the modifying of the biological community, and the sound damage like decreasing, flushing, winterizing, and these are the things that happens. Again, tidal energy systems only depends on the tidal current, and due to this reason, overall system only generate electricity 10 hours of the day. So if if state is relying on tidal energy only, so they will be only receiving the energy for 10 hours. So this is a major challenge. They will have to rely on other resources as well. Conventional design of tidal turbine is not feasible, so we'll have to come up with some latest software and the technology where you can design your turbine, design the turbine, tidal turbine, which must be efficient enough to produce enough power to meet up the demand. Construction cost is very high, so initially its construction cost is very much higher. Again, you will have to invest in that. Limited feasible location. The main major issue which comes is of the location. If you are into the coastal areas, there are lands, those are evacuated and vacant. There can be installed, but not everywhere it can be installed. The conventional barrage system is very expensive. They follow very slow process and they follow very slow process. Barrages affect fish migration and the other wildlife. So it is a threat to the wildlife as well that many fishes like salmon swim up to the barrages and they are killed by the spinning turbines as well. The fish ladder system is never being 100% effective. So if you are using a fish ladder system, it is not 100% effective. So it is threat for the wildlife, another wildlife as well. So these are the advantages that eco-friendly, it is a major advantage than renewable energy resource. So abundant in amount, so need not to be worried about the depletion. It's highly predictable. Yeah, we can predict how much capacity it will be doing. Cost competitive, minimizes over dependence on fossil fuels and offers a sense of protection. Again, the disadvantages are high upfront capital cost is there. Means initially we will have to invest for the installation and all. Then we will go for the further things. It's not completely environmentally friendly, as and it is told that it might be a threat for other wildlife things like salmon fish and all. Problems of efficiency should be very much higher, because if you are producing power but not it is not very much sufficient, it is not very much efficient, so it is not being it will not be that much utilized, and that will not meet up the energy demand. The tidal energy need a long gestation for the period. Impact of marine life, as I already told you, we discussed it earlier. Another source is geothermal energy. Geothermal energy, it utilizes the earth and the thermal energy, which is beyond the earth. So geo meaning the earth and the thermal meaning the heat. Obviously, it is generated by the heat stored beneath the earth's surface. We can use the steam and the hot water produced inside the earth to heat buildings and generate electricity. A pipe is means a well is there, and a pipe is bored into that portion. Since the temperature is very much high and thermal variation is there, due to that thermal variation and very much temperature below the earth's surface, the cold water is poured into that. The cold water is supplied to that portion, and again it is pumped as it is converted into the steam. So it can be utilized for any purpose. It can be utilized for process heating purpose as well, for heat buildings, or to produce or meet up electricity demand of a particular area. Geothermal energy is a renewable energy resource, because water is replenished, it is abundant, and it is collected on the earth's surface by the rainfall, and the heat is continuously produced inside the earth as its temperature is very much higher. Just a second. Sorry for the interruption.
Sir, we are running out of time. Can we wind up now, sir?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Sure. So just let me just go
Yeah.
to the. So these are the geothermal energies. Again, similarly, we have geothermal energy resources, that hot water reservoirs, natural stem, and geopressure reservoirs that utilizes due to the temperature gradient. These are some utilization that can be used for process heating, air conditioning, industrial processes, crop drying, then aquaculture, hot water, melting snow, and all. The uses can be direct and the indirect as well, like it is shown in the figure, that well is there, and the pipe is supplied to that portion where the temperature is there, and again it is pumped, the steam is pumped for the process heating or the floor heating purpose. The generation of electricity is appropriate where the source is above 150 degree centigrade temperature. It can be utilized as production well is there. It is again imparted towards the steam is imparted towards the turbine and it produces electricity. These are flash steam power plants, binary cycle. These are hot dry rocks which are natural, and it works as the hot well and can again be utilized for the process heating purpose and the floor heating purpose. Harmful effects are there, that the brine can salinate soil if the water is not injected back into the reserve. Extracting large amount of water can cause land subsidence, and this can lead to an increase in the seismic activity. So that's all from my side. I have mainly covered these things. So we already know that a lot has been discussed, that renewable energy is the next thing that every country and the world is switching towards. So these are
Thank
the
you,
these were
sir.
the things. Yeah, thanks a lot, ma'am, for giving me such a wonderful opportunity. And
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. And this is very informative session. I hope everyone get benefited by this. Participants, if you have any question or any query, you can ask. Is there any question from the participant side? Okay. Thank you so much, sir, for giving a valuable time and such a nice and formative session, sir.
okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Thank you. I would like to thank again. Thank my means. I would like to convey the thanks to Dr. Vinod Kumar Chaudhary and Mr.